Today, I'd like to talk about building a Halloween graveyard fence. During Halloween, you get many visitors to your front door. You may have some places you don't wish those visitors to enter into. An easy solution for guiding your guests where they need to go? Build this fake wrought iron fence, and you can doctor it up to look like another Halloween decoration. Okay, let's get started. First, you want to measure how high your fence is going to be. We're looking at about 30 inches. Now, we want to take some half-inch Schedule 40 PVC pipe. You want to cut several 30-inch long pipes, then cut some slightly shorter and some slightly longer. This will give the top of your fence a somewhat jagged look. Here I'm actually using a PVC pipe cutting tool, but if you don't have one, you can use a saw. Cut enough pipe just to make your fence aesthetically pleasing. Now for the cross pieces, we'll use a 1x2. Despite its misleading name, a 1x2 really isn't 2 inches wide. The name simply means it was 1x2 inches before they dried the board out. So in reality, the board will be some random size smaller than 2 inches wide. The reason why I'm mentioning this is, we need to find the center line of this board, and there's a much easier way of doing it than using a tape measure. We can use geometry. The simplest geometric shape to find the center of is a square. So let's make a square. Use a combination square to measure the width of the board. Then transfer that width to the end of the board. You now have a perfect square. To find the center of the square, draw a line connecting opposite corners. So right here is the exact center of the width of that board. Do the same thing on the other end of the board. You can now connect the two center points. Okay, let's see what this looks like in real life. Now that our center line is marked, we need to figure out where to drill the holes for our poles. We started out by placing a pole on each end of the board. Now we have to place 9 more poles equidistant between these 2 points. The distance is 40 inches. Now if you just jump into this mathematics without doing a little bit of thinking ahead, you would just say, how many times does 9 poles go into 40? The answer is 4.4 inch spacing. But you'll find that as you lay your poles every 4.4 inches, only 8 poles will fit on there. The last pole would actually replace your outermost pole. The place where we went wrong was, this formula is stating, what equal spacing do I need to have my last pole wind up at 40 inches? The correct formula would be 40 divided by 10 instead of 9, which will give you 4 instead of 4.4. What you're actually doing here is counting gaps, not poles. You can see there's a gap between every pole. This includes one extra gap between the last pole and the end position. So this is the reason why we added 1 to our formula. You can now mark your pole spacing on your center line. If you're going to be drilling this by hand, you can increase drill bit accuracy by using a punch to make a divot to hold your drill bit while it's starting to spin. You'll notice I only marked 1 board, even though we need 2. The reason is I'm going to screw these 2 boards together and use the top board that we marked as a template to drill all the way through both boards at the same time. Wow, talk about a run-on sentence. Anyway, this method will ensure that the holes line up between both boards. Now we need a drill bit. I know I said we're using half-inch PVC, but that's inside dimensions. The outside dimensions will take a 7/8 drill bit. And if you happen to have one, a drill press will make this job considerably easier. Notice we use some scrap 1x2s to make a guide to keep our board centered while we're drilling. Drill all the way through both boards. It's time to do some assembly work. We used a straight edge at the bottom of the fence to make all the posts stick out about 4 inches. Then a brad nail gun to shoot through the wood and into the PVC pipe to hold it in place. Use a tape measure to make sure the top board is parallel to the bottom board. Then hit it with the brad nail gun. The length of nail I used was just barely long enough to go through the wood and the PVC pipe. Okay, so we have a new fence. That's a problem because we don't want a new fence. We want an old Halloween fence. Our solution would be fire and ice. Sounds like a song I know. Anyway, if you apply heat to PVC pipe, it will bend. So get out your portable torch and start heating. You want to constantly be moving the torch. Otherwise, your PVC will erupt in flames. More than likely you're going to leave scorch marks on the pipe, but that doesn't matter since you're going to be painting it anyway. Making sure that you're wearing really good gloves, because remember, you just heated that thing up. You can grab a hold of the pipe and bend it. And yes, for all you sharp-eyed watchers, I did just burn my finger. But anyway, while you're holding the pipe in place, run a piece of ice along it. This will cool down the heated plastic, locking it into the position that you're holding it. If you don't have ice available, just hold it in position for about 10 minutes per pipe. Finally, it's time for the artist in you to start showing through. A brand new wrought iron fence is black. But this is Halloween, we don't want new. We want something that's been outside and been weathered and starting to rust. So, using a combination of both brown and black spray paint, paint your entire fence. Overall, make the entire fence black, but you can have brown rust stains showing through. The rustier the fence you want, the more brown you'll have showing. When you're all done, drive a couple pieces of 3/8 rebar into the ground, then slide your fence over the top of them to hold it in place. This pretty much makes it a freestanding fence. Oh, and when you're bending the poles, don't be afraid to go a little wild. Here we can see where the zombie bent the fence trying to make it out of the graveyard. Well, thanks for watching.